In level 1, we will be identifying relationships, equations, and graphs that are functions. We will evaluate composite functions algebraically, and we will perform operations with functions. This first example is an example of evaluating a function, where you plug a number into the function and evaluate. So in this first function, we will be plugging 1/2 in for x. So everywhere that there's an x, I replace with 1/2. We get -2 times 1/2 squared times the square root of 2 minus 1/2. And then we just have to simplify. 1/2 squared is 1/4, so we get -2 times 1/4 times the square root of, if I use common denominators here, we get 4/2 minus 1/2, and that is 3/2. And -2 times 1/4 is -1/2. Now we're almost done, but we're not allowed to leave a radical in a denominator, so we need to rationalize our denominator. And we do that by multiplying this number by radical 2 over radical 2. And on the top, we can multiply the radical parts together, so we get radical 6 on the top. And on the bottom, radical 2 times radical 2 is 2, which also has to be multiplied by the 2 in front, and we get 4. And then this was negative because of our negative sign out front. And there you go. In this next part, we will talk about the definition of a function and how to identify whether or not a relationship represents a function. For something to be a function, each input can only have one output, or every x value can only have one corresponding y value. Looking at this example of this table in number 2, this first table, we have the same x value with two different corresponding y values, or the same input with two different outputs. So this is not a function. In the second table, we have two different x values with the same y value. That is okay. That is still a function. So it's okay to have two different outputs with two different inputs with the same output, but you can't have the same input with two different outputs. In the next example, with graphs, it's almost easier to tell because we can just use the vertical line test. The vertical line test is drawing a vertical line anywhere in the graph. If it only touches once at every place that you could draw it, then it is a function. So yes, this parabola is a function. The circle, on the other hand, would touch a vertical line in two places. So it doesn't pass the vertical line test. It's not a function. This circle is another example of having the same x value with two different y values, like in that first table. And the parabola has an example where you have the same y value, say 2, for two different x values. So that's just like the second table, which is a function.